We're doing this thing live. All right, we're streaming now.
Right.
So, folks that are watching this, we were talking, and as Troy and I tend to do, we go off on rails and start talking about random stuff. I was talking about OCD related issues with my alignment of these photos behind me. so,
Right.
so
Right.
I'm gonna need help with that. Yeah. So we
Right.
got to get this thing going. How you doing, Troy?
Yeah. I'm doing good. It's Monday again. Like, holy crap. Like, I
It's
woke
like
up this
every
morning and
seven
I'm like,
days Mondays show up. I don't know what's up with that.
yeah, but it's compressed. Like I was really enjoying not having to do anything for 2 years, and now I got to start doing stuff. My days are going by too fast.
Be careful what you ask for, my friend. Be careful. Be careful what you ask for. Let me go ahead and make sure our screen sharing is good. No, you don't want all that, do you? Let's see. I am running behind. It's Monday, and I'm getting all this set up now. You guys can see it live in the stream as I get this all configured. There you go. All right, we're good there. All right. What's our topic today, Troy Miller? Patterns. Are you ready to talk about patterns?
Patterns. Yeah, why not? Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, this will be good. This will be good. Who's in the chat? We got a couple people showing up for the live. Thank you, folks. Karen's in there. James is in there. A few more folks will show up. Let's get the stream going. You ready to just dive in? Do you have anything to chit chat about before we start? I'm going to put you on camera. There you go.
No,
right there.
no,
On the
don't do
spotlight.
that.
Troy, tell us about your weekend. What did you do exciting?
Well, let me show you something.
You're still having a love affair with that Z9?
Dude, this thing is better than any Leica that exists on the planet. That's all I gotta
Ooh,
say.
strong words. Strong words. Because as we were saying before we started this thing up, Vincent LaFerre just tweeted a few minutes ago that he's playing with the Sony, the new Sony, the Z9, and a Canon, and all the flagship cameras, and he says they're too fast, and he wants to go back to the old Leica days, and where of manual and all that. And I said, this is what I didn't say that I didn't tweet this. I said to you, I'm like, we spend these years and years complaining about cameras not being fast enough. We need faster autofocus. We need faster this, bigger sensors, lower light. And now we get that, and it's, this is kind of too fast. Can we slow it down a little bit? And you had a comment. What do you think, Troy? What do you think?
I don't know what I said. The polite one or the rude one? I don't know.
I like the rude one. The rude one was good.
I'm not saying that. No, we're not saying that out loud. I was being facetious.
He was. He was. I'm not gonna put him on the spot.
The idea is that get gear that works for you.
Yeah.
None of this gear is too fast, right? It's only too fast if you're too old and you don't need that speed, right? Don't drive a Corvette if you want a Volkswagen Bug. They all have their intention. Like, I get it. I shoot weddings, so I need fast. I need low light. I need buttons everywhere that do whatever I tell them to do. So, I think Leicas are silly. So,
wow. All right. What about Fuji? How do you feel about Fuji cameras, Troy Miller?
No, listen, and I say this with respect to what it is, but in the day they made the best glass and they were amazing. But today they're sort of niche, and they're designed for somebody who really just kind of wants to slow way down and turn dials and click switches. Like, I get it. That's fine. But our lenses and sensors now are pretty much all the same in the pro level. I mean, we're pixel peeping if you want to split hairs. It doesn't matter anymore. It's not going to make your pictures better.
Yeah. Just pick like you said, pick a tool and get really good at it, right? Like pick a musician. Pick your instrument, then learn all of its nuances and shortcomings and strengths and all that, and just make great music.
Right.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Because if I buy a drum kit,
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, if I buy a drum kit, it's not gonna make me a better drummer than the kid who's banging out these amazing rhythms on buckets, on Home Depot buckets. Right? He's mastered his tool.
That's right.
I'm gonna be like, I don't get it. Yeah.
You'll be like, if you're like most industries, you'll be like, you know what, if I just had those buckets, I could make sound like that. All I have is this $20,000 drum set, so I can't. I need those
That's
buckets.
all I've got. Yeah.
Oh man. All right,
Poor
cool. All
me.
right, let's dive into this critique. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks, for joining us live. This is gonna be good. All right, we
Yeah.
are inside of the TWiP community right now. Let me stretch that out a little bit. There we go. All right, first one up is Peterlevschen. Remember, the topic for this is patterns. Patterns.
Yes.
Peterlevschen is up first. Garigi Noda. I don't know. I can't pronounce that. All right, here we go. What do you think, Troy Miller? How did Peter do?
Well, I think it's well, only because I love Peter and he's my friend. I think he did a decent job. This is not a photo of a pattern. This is a photo of an image that's on a door that has a pattern in the door. So I guess I don't see the pattern as the subject. I see, the artwork as the subject. So, I mean, I love the shot and I think that it's really cool, but this always brings up that sort of question is like, how do you critique an image of an image that's of another image? Right.
Yeah,
And
right.
so it it's hard, right? Like Peter, you did a great job.
It's encouraging. Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, we've talked about this before. I forget who it was. I think it was Armando or I don't know. One of our members was a couple, maybe it was a year or so ago, was posting images of other images, or of other artwork, whether it be statues or murals or things like that. And yeah, it becomes your shot when you take a shot of that, or does it? From a critique standpoint, is it like, how do you critique that if it's a shot of somebody else's, if it's not used as a background element? Like when you're doing like professional image critiques for different organizations, do images get submitted that are of other artworks in there?
Yeah, sometimes, and that's really hard because then you have to sort of look at it from the standpoint of what was the photographic technique. So, like, let's say it's commercial and you're photographing a home, like you didn't build the home, right? But it's the technique that was used to light the home, or the angle that you chose, or something. So the same thing would apply to a statue or any type of 3D art, right? That you could put light on. But when it's flat, it's really hard. It's really
Yeah,
hard. So,
yeah,
to Peter, there's some really subtle patterns in here that I think are nice, and I think that it adds to the element of the image, as it's created.
yeah. Cool. All right. Peter Levshin, thank you for submitting that. And moving right along. Next up is Karen Sweeney, La Deuterina. Deuterina. Karen says, the patterns of life. Yeah, these are patterns.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Fibonacci
these are really
patterns.
cool. Are they kind of maybe?
I think if you zoom out or zoom in enough, you'd probably see a Fibonacci pattern. If you looked at the forest as a whole, you probably start seeing Fibonacci, or if you zoomed into the
Yeah, they're
cellular pattern, you'd see it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I really love these type of shots. I mean, I really appreciate one. I love seeing nature, represented in kind of any way, and seeing these, like, we know right away that they're leaves. Our brains tell us, oh, they're probably green, but being in that monochromatic state, which I really like, it really gives me a sense of the pattern, right? That's in there. Um, and I love the presentation. I think that it's done really, really well. My only suggestion would be well, we'll call it the vein of the leaf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is I would bring that up, the brightness up just a tad, to create a little bit more brightness in that, and that would create more contrast in the overall image. But other than that, I mean, it's great. I love where it's cropped. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, yeah, this is tight. Yeah, I like this. I like this from a. I'd like to see this in a maybe even a triptych or a photo series, kind of showing different aspects of this plant. But even alone, this stands great by itself, just as a standalone.
It does. It does. And this is something that, you can photograph all the time, anytime. And there's always a good subject matter here, after the rain with, a bug on it, a bird, you name
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, a bug like a ladybug on there would really. If there was a ladybug or some sort of insect in there, would that change your thoughts about it being black and white?
No, no, I think that it just depends on what you want to highlight. If you wanted to highlight, the insect, then you may want to have, the color pop out against the green. But if you really just want it to stay about the patterns and you want the bug to be secondary, let's say a ladybug, for example, you want it to be secondary, just let it exist and let somebody find it, in the muted monochromatic tone range.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm a
Okay.
big fan of having a secondary hook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. All right, so now we'll be looking for secondary hooks in the rest of these images. Uh, Karen says, thanks, James, because James said he loves this, but she says she dodged the veins, but maybe not enough. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really up to you. I mean, that's one of those kind of things where I like the subtle, soft contrast tones that you have here, but it may be cool to bring those up a little bit. And all you really have to do is when you create that dodging layer, just do it on a separate layer and then just play with the opacity until
Hmm.
you find you like it. And if you want to go back, super easy. So
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Thank you, Karen. And then moving right along, Nora's Anonymous, Patterns Interrupted. That reminds me of a talk that I sat in from, God, who was it? I'll think of it. Think of the photographer's name. You know him. He's a photographer that we've talked about before, but he always talks about patterns and interrupting patterns. She says, take an architectural structure and add mirrored surfaces, and interesting things happen. Yes, look at this.
yeah, that is so cool. Yeah, I really like that. I like that a lot. I like the fact that there's a pattern and then within the pattern there's another story, right? So that's like that secondary hook. And I think that our brains really like that. It's that sort of hunting and seeking and like, oh, I found a little hidden treasure. And the more you look, the more you find. So I really like that. I think this is one of those kind of images that I would certainly play with making it black and white. Um, not that it has to be, but I think if you made it black and white, then it would turn you would see more patterns and you wouldn't be drawn so quickly to the person in the pink shirt.
Right, right, yeah, because any kind of human form makes you want to see it. Human forms or text or writing or something like that, or bright
Yeah.
areas as we talk about all the time. In this
Yep.
shot, we also talk about border treatments and key lines and all that. Nora opted not to do that to this shot. Do you think this would benefit from that, or is it fine with no kind of trapping?
It's always an interesting conversation. I think, and even though when I post images in the community, I don't always finish them. I just post them. But I think that when you want to present a finished image, I think that it should be finished. So, you know, I would I would I would put a border on it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think play with it. It's personal preference at this point. How do you want us to see it? If
Yeah.
this was going into a competition, as we've discussed before, I would absolutely make sure you put a treatment on it. If you're gonna put it in a gallery, you want to sell it, you'd want to finish it.
That's interesting the way you say that. So finishing an image, finishing an image means putting a border on it, and it's unfinished if it has no border on it, in your opinion.
I do see it that way. I mean, but you've got to realize that, like from my perspective, I make a living selling prints. So it's important to me that my images are presented in the most polished and finished way possible to my clients. So whether that's, got a sloppy border or a black border or, some type of finish on it that really tells me that it's done. And they opt to take the borders off a lot of times, but I always show them with the borders.
Interesting. Yeah, and
Yeah, it's a very preferred.
yeah, and what you said kind of goes to what we were chit chatting about before about your camera choice. It's all subjective, right? And it's not only is it subjective because this is all art, it's also subjective because it is subjective based on the camera that you want to use, subjective based on what message you're trying to convey with the shot. There's no one or right, or what genre you're shooting. Like you're shooting weddings, for example, and your end result needs to be a saleable product that your customers will purchase, but also one that reflects your signature style that they hired you for in the first place, which may include borders or whatever else, right? So that's not to say that
Right.
borders or key lines are a standard for all photography. It's very much subjective. So I want to throw that in there. But you don't believe that. I know. You think all filters.
I'm not saying anymore.
It's like, no, every photo ever made can benefit from a border of some sort. And
No,
I agree, but I think those borders can also be represented as physical frames, right?
So in the chat, James Glennie says, always with the border discussion, LOL. And Lobase says, to be fair, James, we made it 16 minutes.
Hey, I got a thing. I'm just saying, don't oppress people into your border discussion, Troy.
Oh, not me. Oh, and look, the next image is going to be James Glennie's, and it has a border.
Oh, God. All right, here we go. All right, next up, James Glennie. Yeah, here we go. All right, let's bring that up.
Nice.
I like that. Look at those colors. Yes.
I love this a lot. Yeah. I mean, one, just speaking to the category, this really is just pure patterns, which I just love that. There's patterns in the circles and sort of that chainmail look. There's patterns in the links where the rings themselves come together. You can kind of find like these weird little patterns through there. So I see lots of patterns. This is sending me a message. I can see actually a message in this pattern. It says that you should drink some tea. So I better do that. You always gotta do what the patterns tell you. Yeah. So James, I love this image, and I really like the fact that you put that color behind, the main rings, the front rings, and I think that you chose a really good color because that dark color, the purple, goes really well with that metallic. So really, really nice.
Yeah, I like it. You get lost in this shot. It's really cool. This goes to show patterns are everywhere, right? I mean, who knows where he shot this? Okay, and it's just, this is a really good shot.
I'm envisioning that James has a set of chainmail that he wears on occasion, and this is that. That's what I'm picturing, But what I do also want to point out, James, is that I completely appreciate the fact that you made an effort to keep the two solid rings on the left as they continue through the right, and then you've got that center ring that isn't cut off on the right. Like it seems very intentional to me that you tried to keep whole rings in there where possible. So I think that's really important, especially with patterns. We like to see a pattern interrupted, but patterns that are a mess are often very confusing. So,
yeah.
So I like this. I like this a lot.
He says UV lights for the win. Nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. If my only editing suggestion for this would be to lean into the contrast, lean into a little bit darker shadows, let that UV purple in the background saturate a little bit more, go a little darker, bring those highlights down just a tad. I feel like there's more edginess that could come out in here, and that's just my preference. I like that look, but
yeah, very nice. All right, James Glennie.
Love it.
Thank you, sir. All right, up next is Stephen Scharf, who is driving, listening to this on the road. Don't be looking at the screen, Stephen. You can watch this on the replay. It says reflected patterns. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
There's that Stephen Scharf attention to detail that we know.
Yeah, no, these are things that I love to see these, and they're everywhere. Once you go out and you start looking for patterns, it's hard not to see them, right? They're everywhere. But reflections are especially gorgeous, and they're especially fun. And I'll actually use reflections and things like this as my backgrounds. when I'm doing portraits outside. Let them fall out of focus a little bit, and they look really cool. But what I do enjoy about this one is I love the fact that there's that little wash of contrary color right in the lower right hand corner. So you've got the blue everywhere, and then you've got this warm tone in the lower right hand, which I really like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. This is one of those you get lost into. Yeah, because it's the depth, you know. So we have the trapping of our border, which I think works really well here. The diagonal lines in there, and then within the reflection, I'm guessing it's another building back there that's reflected into the shot in the panes of glass there. We see those,
Right.
and this the whatever this is, another building looks like reflected in here that's under construction somewhere
Mm-hmm.
in the scene. I love that that's in there, that kind of, you know, we talked about pattern interrupted, so it's interrupting the pattern. This guy, this bar on the side here, I don't know how I feel about that bar. I don't know if you know, I don't know. I think it's fine in there because it does add a little bit of weight to that side, but I think I probably would have cropped that out. I don't know. I'm curious what you think about that. Would you have taken that right side out or left it in?
Yeah, you know, I like it the way it is, but if I hold my hand up and I crop off, we'll call it the right two vertical columns. Okay, so basically getting rid of that diagonal line in the top right hand corner. I
Hmm.
think it really, really simplifies the image. You still have all the impact of, you know, the image in the lower right hand corner, which I like a lot. So I mean, it's one way or the other. This is one of those kind of images that there's patterns within more patterns and this deeper patterns, and I really like that. The more you look at this, the more you see. So
Hmm.
yeah, really good capture, really nice.
Cool, cool shot. Stephen Sharf, thank you for the reflected pattern shot. Yeah, that side. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. There's multiple shots in here, but that's everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? All right.
Definitely.
Phil Lewenthal's up next. He calls this one Zigzag. Yeah,
Yeah, I
there's
like
our
that.
pattern, right? Yeah.
Although
Phil's really good at these kind of shots. These long, excuse me, long exposures of moving water that create this kind of otherworldly effect. I like these, and the
right.
border. There's our border again, and that, I think for this one, absolutely it works because it feels like I'm peering through a window into like another dimension or something.
Yeah, yeah, this is really wonderful. I mean, the patterns are much more subtle in this one, say, you know, like compared to with Stevens. Like Stevens, the patterns are obvious. In this one, you know, you appreciate the patterns, and our brains love patterns. We love repeating lines, we love leading lines, we love, you know, those patterns, we love that. And so I really enjoy, you know, how it looks like the lower right hand half of the image is almost repeated inversely from the top image, right? So if you were to split this in half, you've got the islands in the bottom right and the islands in the top left, you know, and the hot spots are opposite each other. There's a really nice play. You've got triangles, right? You've got these triangles in the zigzag. So that creates a pattern. And then the rocks, you know, plus it's just a really pretty landscape.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Phil inspires me to want to go out and actually do this kind of thing, this long exposure. Phil, when you see this, comment in the community on the on this image. I'm curious, what did you shoot this with? Like, were you out there with a neutral, or when you do these types of shots, are you neutral, have a neutral density filter on there, or are you just going bare lens, long exposure? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, because of Craig Stampley and Phil, when I did my little trip, I intentionally tried to do some of these, and I tried to do like the panning wave shots that Craig does, and I was moderately successful. I need to go back and try it again,
Yeah, well,
but I
yeah,
was
that's the name of the game with photography, right? It's a if at first you don't succeed, right? It's that kind of sport. Just keep going, and then you'll
right,
eventually
right,
make some success. Cool.
exactly.
All right, Phil, thanks for that. Moving right along. Oh, this I posted this yesterday. This is Cameron. Cameron and I went to the Golden Gate. My daughter Cameron and I went to the Golden Gate National Golden Gate Park. Is it Golden Gate National Cemetery? Yeah, I think it's just the Golden Gate National Cemetery in San Bruno, California, the home to YouTube, who's streaming this. In fact, YouTube is about, I don't know, maybe 5 miles away from where we're standing here. So, as I put in the caption here, we were having a discussion, a daddy-daughter discussion about Ukraine and Russia and war and all that stuff. So I wanted to make it a teachable moment, which we did, and that's what this shot came from.
That's very cool. Yeah. Is that any particular headstone there, or is it?
No.
Oh,
No, she was asking me. She's like, "Daddy, do you know any of these people?" I was like, "No, I don't know any of these people at all." So, but these are fun shots to play around with. Both of these are sky replacements, by the way. So Luminar AI sky replacements on both of them.
That's obvious.
Is damn. Is it obvious? Is it really obvious?
It is. The second one is
the tree line, right? The tree line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first one is obvious because it's showing the sun off to the right, but the light patterns on the shadows of the headstones show the sun far to your right.
It was
right. So the sun's the sun's in the wrong place.
Yeah, I know. I knew you'd see that. Yeah, the sun is, as I stand here, as she stands here, the sun was kind of at our 4 o'clock position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
And that's, as many of you know, right? This is what Renee pointed out to me in one of my wedding images a long time ago. So I have become intensely aware to my abilities, right? Because I do sky replacements all the time. I do them in weddings all the time. So I always go for the most subtle and barely a sky, right? I just want texture as opposed to, let me knock you out with my sky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard though. Isn't it hard when you do it? Because it's just like, I have all this power of all these skies I can put in here. I must put one in. The reason I put one in these shots, I put them in these shots was because the sky is California, right? There's nothing. Our skies are always unremarkable. They're always just blue with a wisp of clouds if you're lucky, or foggy. That's all we get. So
I
wanted to play around with that.
Well, do this in Photoshop, do it as a layer, and then do a little Gaussian blur on that sky, because that sky should be softer than it is.
Yeah, you can do that in Luminar. You can defocus the sky a little bit, but that's actually a good point. I should play around with doing the same thing in Photoshop with Photoshop sky replacement and see if I get more control, because you don't have a lot of control in Luminar. You can put a sky in there, but you can't get, like, I was trying to, let me bring it back up. I was trying to get to this tree line. I knew exactly how to fix this in Photoshop if I had the layers, but I didn't have the layers to do it. So I'm like working with the tools that I had. So what did Amy said on the first shot. Yeah. Without the sky, just your daughter and the headphones, or the headstones. Yeah, I have a couple of shots. I shot like a bunch of shots of her out there. These are just the ones I processed. So I did some that are just her with the headstones, and the geography of this place is very hilly and rolly. So it gives you a lot of compositional options, to have her in the foreground and then rolling hills of headstones going up. It's really a picturesque, photogenic kind of place. So.
And you want to fix the horizon in that because it's rotated counterclockwise.
It is not. It was perfect.
It is too.
In this one?
It's not. Yeah.
This one, no, because maybe it's optically, but this flagpole is perfectly vertical, my friend. It's perfectly vertical.
Right. But if you were to crop it, and I'm looking at it cropped, then it's rotated counterclockwise. Right, because the ground is probably sloped slightly. And that makes perfect sense, right? Mm-hmm. So visually, right now, if you crop off that horizon, the headstones, like that line of headstones that you're standing in front of that you've centered, they're tilted to the left. You can kind of see, and you can also see the shadow line across the bottom is tapering and narrowing to the left as opposed to the right. So visually, visually you have to decide like, okay, where do I want to put my horizon? So
Yeah.
depending on you crop the image, it changes.
That's tricky, right? Because if you have these vertical lines in here and these horizontal shadows, and you're on a hilly terrain, and you have an obvious vertical object in there, so you have to start making decisions on,
Yep.
okay, I could rotate it to the left, but will they notice that the flagpole is kind of going to the left? Or, I can, like you
Yeah.
always say, we should make it visual. It needs to be visually correct, even if it's not technically correct. So,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, cool. This community sucks. I'm never posting in here ever again.
Hey,
No,
that's
this is
just
good
how it
though.
works, man.
I love it. I love it. No, I'm just kidding. No, this one was fun too. So it's I was it was there's so many different things that you could do out here. It's I would encourage anyone who's in the Bay Area to swing by there. It's like this place is just San Bruno is just south of San Francisco. It's in the same town as the San Francisco airport. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's neat. Yeah, it's a neat place.
all right,
Very
moving right
good.
along. All right, coming up next is Erik Pronskie. He says hotel balconies, image of the balconies of the Hilton Palacio del taken on the San Antonio Riverwalk. All right, now that's deco. Look at that. Talk about patterns and geometry
I
and
know.
abstract. That's off the hook. I love that.
I know. I know. I really, really like this one a lot. And I think that it feels very Escher-esque, like no matter how you rotate this or where you focus your image, like you see different things. Um, and I just really, really like that. I would probably crop the left-hand side ever so slightly just to get that little black line out of the center balcony, I guess it is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, just so it gave it like this really perfectly clean edge, kind of like you have on the right. But man, I wish this was in my portfolio. I wish this was an image I took.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. So you're talking about this black line right here.
Yeah.
So crop it out just so that's not there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that would bring the edge right to the point of the triangular shadow above it, right? And I think that would just really sort of contain this. And then I might go so far as to, rotate it horizontally and show it
Oh,
that way.
really get
Uh
them thinking, right?
yeah, because it's so hard to tell. There's no people, there's no writing, there's no chairs, there's no doors, there's no, it's just like this could be anything. It could be anything. And so just mess with sort of the geometry and the perception and rotate it and see
Yeah,
what it does.
yeah. Interesting. Yeah,
And then
there's
go
no
back and
rules,
shoot
right?
some more.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
that?
I said because there's no rules in photography, especially if you're doing abstract work like this. Why not, right? And
Oh
there's no
yeah.
people in there.
Yeah.
If there was a person in one of that wouldn't be a bad thing either. It'd just be a different shot. If there was a recognizable person doing something on one of these balconies, then that would be that whole pattern interrupted thing that we were talking about. So, but then you wouldn't be
Right.
able to rotate it. But since there are no humans or recognizable sort of objects like that in here, you can rotate it and have at it.
Right. In our brains, the way that we process imagery is we need light and shadow to tell us what's up and down, to tell us, where a foundation is, to tell us, where things are. Like we need that. And in this image, like if you took out all the balconies, we would have no sense whatsoever. I mean, if you took out like the hand railing, we would have no sense whatsoever what was up or down. And so, I like the idea of playing with that, right? Like just rotating it and then seeing how you perceive it.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Cool
Damn,
shot.
another favorite. Shoot, this is going
I
to be really
know.
tough.
Yeah, we got some work to do. Erik Pronskie. All right. And next up, Amy Brooks. Posted this 2 hours ago. Look at that. Coming in on the wire. Ice, ice, baby.
Oh, this is great. This is really great. Um,
Like, what is going on
just
here? This
love.
draws you in. Like, I'm like, I know, from her caption, I know it's ice, but is this a drone shot from far away, or is this close up? You can't tell, right? Or can you? Can you
Yeah.
tell if it's far away or close up?
Um, the only thing that makes me think that it's close up. Well, one, I've seen the image before, or one very similar that she posted. But for something that's going to be far away, it's going to be sharper, I think, everywhere. And this image has a sense of softness to me. Like the top right corner is a little softer than like the center, and I can see that those are bubbles in there, but the top of the image is soft where the center of the image is in focus. So if this was taken from a drone, that distance and that wide angle perspective, you're going to have sharper edge to edge just because of the lens. I'm guessing that this image was shot like on the ground, like standing over it, with a 24-70 or something like that. You're shooting down on it, and so you don't have that perfectly square representation of the surface. So that's why you get that little bit is out.
Yeah, it's very abstract. And look, do you notice something missing from this shot? It's not finished, Troy. It's not finished. But I think it's completely finished. That's what I'm saying. So I like this idea.
Yeah. I would I mean, so I love the image. I love the patterns. I love how it's set. What I would probably do is I would probably try to take the darks down a little bit and create 3 layers of light in this image. So 3 layers of brightness or tonality, if you will. So you have the background, right, which is the darkness, and I know there's a little reflection going on in there, so I'm including that all in that. Then you have the bubbles. That's more of a specular high. Well, not specular because it's not super bright, but that's another layer of brightness. And then you have the lines, right? Or the cracks, if you will. I'm guessing probably in ice. I see those as even brighter. And I would really lean into those and create those 3 depths of tonality into this particular image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think about the color treatment on this?
I would I personally would go straight black and white. Or maybe go black and white and then do a duotone and add more of a blue. This is sort of that very dark navy gray, and I just don't think that it lends itself to that. Oh, Amy says it's a mud puddle. Yeah, so if you want to change the tone of this because it's monochromatic anyway, what you do is switch it to black and white. So whether you're in Lightroom, convert it to black and white, not desaturating, but actually convert to black and white. And then you can do a duotone where you're able to add colors back into the black and white. And then you can tone it to be exactly what you want. So you could make this look like perfectly cyan or very, what color am I trying to think of? Like a crystal blue type ice if you want. And you can do whatever you want. I mean, you could make it orange. I shoot a lot of waves in infrared, and then I tone them blue so they look like water.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. All right. Amy Brooks, thank you for that. Let's see. Do we have any other ones? Yes, we do. Low Base Guy. Let's take a look at that. All right.
Wow.
Look at that. This is almost a Where's Waldo. You had to stare at this for a minute and you're like, okay, there's this thing. Oh, there's the head. There's the business end right there.
Yeah, you really do. And I think that is just so cool. It's one of those things like that primary and secondary hook that I was talking about, is that when you first look at it, you see all the patterns and you see the highlights and the scales and all that. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh God, there's a head over here. I'm just playing with the crop a little bit. I feel like the lower right hand corner, I wish it wasn't soft. I realize that that's probably because the snake's body is closer to the lens. So I might crop it a little bit so it doesn't, maybe crop up from the bottom and take off part of the head. Oh, you put me on camera, so you can see me cropping.
People need to see this Troy Miller cropping technique. You're looking like Ultraman over there.
Dude, we used to have this this card that when you would slide it out, it had a square cut in it, and that you'd slide it out and it would actually crop, right? And we
Hmm.
used to use that for our clients to help them crop proofs, but we use that for so many things because visually, even having done it for so many years, I just think that it's so nice to put your hands up and go, "Oh yeah, that's it right there."
Yeah.
So, but this is wonderful as presented. I mean, I think it's great, and I love the fact that the scales, the highlights on the scales, definitely show better than anything else. Do we
Hmm.
call those scales? I mean, I know it's on a dragon you'd call them scales, but on a snake, are those officially scales, or do they have a different name?
I think so. I think Low Base would have to chime in on that. He's the expert, but that's what I'd call him. Scales on a reptile. Yeah, for sure. For
Yep, I dig
sure.
it.
All right. Very cool. All right. That looks like that's the last in. Do you have a favorite you want to throw out there? I
I
think I
can't
know who
pick.
your
Don't make me
favorite's going to be.
pick. It's your turn to pick.
No, you're picking. The guests always pick.
Me?
Yeah, you're the guest. You're
No.
the special guest. It's the courtesy. I have a favorite
I
up.
didn't
I
special
already
after
have the
4.
favorite up on the screen. I have my favorite up, so I want to see if you pick my favorite.
Oh, after 4 years, I'm no longer the special guest. I'm just sort of the furniture.
You're the special
Um,
needs guest.
yeah, I'm having a really hard time picking, to be honest. Like I keep going back to Erik Pronskie's. Um,
Interesting you should say that because look at what I have on the screen right now.
oh, did you?
That's the one I
You know, I
picked.
gotta.
Yeah.
I want to be fair to everybody. I absolutely love Stevens, and I really wanted to lean into that one. And James was super clever too. And then Nora's okay. All right, all of them. I'm going back over them, and I feel except for Peter's. Peter's was sorry, Peter. I'll buy you dinner again. I'll make up for it. I don't mean to pick on you.
Poor Peter.
I love
Peter's an amazing photographer. You give him a lot of crap, but he's an
I do.
exceptional photographer that puts himself in harm's way all the time for the shot, right? So,
He is, and I do. So it's fair.
yeah. So,
Um,
which one was Peter's? Was that the
the
first
top
one we
one.
looked at? Yeah, that one. Yeah.
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 So I love all the patterns. I love everything that everybody submitted. I think that with Eric's, I think the idea that you've got this repeated pattern within the pattern that isn't so complicated. You have to sort of decipher it, you know. And so for my palette, I love the simplicity, and yet there's so much complexity in there. No matter how you rotate that, it works. And I think that's amazing. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah. It's really cool.
I think
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
steal
agree.
that and make it a background.
And turn it sideways.
I love that.
Yeah, that is a cool
I
shot.
love that. There's always images that come up that I love, and then I'm like, oh, I could do that if I had that here, or like, oh, I gotta go there. I have to go there and collect that for me. And this is one of those images, like, I definitely want to go collect this, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I like that. I like that the way you think about that. I have to go collect this. It's like, yeah. Yeah, your camera is you're like on the beach looking for with a metal detector and your camera's the metal
oh,
detector.
it's totally for real. Like, I'm doing a road trip. I'm gonna go collect some of these wave shots with Phil, and then when I go see Amy, there's a tree that she's photographed in the snow that's not far from her. I know I'm not going to get snow, but I definitely want to get a shot of that tree just so I can mark it that I was here. you know.
Nice. Nice.
Um, Stephen Sharf posted an image a couple years ago of a church. I think it's in San Jose. I don't remember where the church was, but I immediately I text him. I'm like, dude, I got to go photograph this church. So we made a trip and we went to the church, and I got to photograph it and I got to
That's
collect
cool.
it. It's not amazing. They're not amazing images by any
Yeah.
means, but
It's a
but
memory.
they're
It's a
great.
memory. You're collecting
Yeah,
memories. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Very
now I
cool.
got to figure out how to get to Texas to go shoot this, because this is great.
plane, plane, train, automobile. All of them will go over there. Just no boats. Actually, you might be able to take
Yep.
a boat. You might be able to take a boat. You gotta go a long way around.
To Texas?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
No,
you
I'm
can
not
make it.
taking that boat.
You gotta come up. You gotta go through the Gulf, come through the Panama Canal, come back around.
No, I get
um,
stuck there.
you would get stuck there. Next week, the topic that Troy Miller has chosen for you folks is household. Household. You ready for that one?
Yeah. I am ready for that one. I think that one's going to be very creative. I can't wait to see what people do with their UV lights. Hint,
Yeah.
hint, hint.
That could be anything. So any suggestions you want to give folks for that to lean into this one, or are you just going to
Um,
just go aim your photo
I,
at anything in your household and shoot it?
no, I mean, look, it's think simple, right? Think simple. The simpler that you can get, the better, and tell that story. I think that's going to be really important. So, if you're going to photograph a pot, think about the curve of the edge of the pot, and then the inside. That's your depth. There's another curve in there, so you could do really cool things with that. There's patterns, there's edges, there's reflections in a lot of tools, like in the spoons and not like and fire. There's fire in a household
Yes, there is.
when
Yeah.
there is in the stove.
Uh-huh.
Um,
The fireplace.
there's so many things. Yeah. But think simple, I think, like don't make it too complicated. Or make it complicated, whatever you want to do.
Interesting. All right. Words of encouragement for Troy. And these shots can be inside or outside, right? Long as they're in or around the household. Doesn't have to be indoor household, right?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, folks, we'll leave it right there. That was good. These hours fly by really quick. That was 50 minutes gone, just like that. But we'll leave it right there.
Yep.
This week's critique topic was patterns. And because we're live streaming this on YouTube, the replay is already available to you as soon as I end this. And the next one, photo critique number 182, will be household. So we'll see you guys then. And if you are a part of the TWiP community, we'll see you on Friday for our weekly member mixer. All right. And we'll leave it there. Everybody have a great week. Have as good a week as you possibly can, depending on your unique situation. We'll leave it right there. So, all right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Good.